So over here now, in Maya, I will do a quick idle pose. And the reason why I say idle, well, not an idle pose actually, more of a relaxed pose for a character, because I think doing a normal pose for a character, your first initial pose when you're setting up your scene, personally for me, is the one that takes the longest. Because once I've got my character into a pose that I want, I'm kind of going to be around that pose for the most part. Imagine if she's standing or he's standing, they will be in that pose for the most part, and I'll make adjustments around that pose. So the first pose is very important for me, especially when I'm having my character, setting up the shot. So this is one of the rigs. Her name is Selena or Selena. It's by lookrig.com. They had these awesome rigs. I'm not sponsored by them. I am not promoting their stuff, but I'm giving credit because obviously I'm going to be using their stuff on my demo. However, I think they look awesome. They're just like, I actually got the bundle over here because this is essentially to me like Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible, and like, the boy. Ash, that's his name, I think. Yeah. If you want these rigs, you can buy them. Like I said, I'm not sponsored, but so for the posing demo, I'm going to be using this character over here. Her name is Selena or Selena. And yeah, like I mentioned, they're all cool, awesome rigs. And yeah, if you like what you see, maybe just take a little look around. So let's go straight into the demo. So I have my scene set up. This one is the camera, and this is basically the perspective. Let's move me over here a little bit. Cool. So whenever you bring your character into your scene, guys, you're always going to get this like very mechanical T-pose with no weight. That's totally fine. This is how the characters are rigged. Usually when you're in studios, it's always going to come into your scene like this, and you as the animator, start posing. So anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to do is just spread out the legs, maybe. Hold on, what's this? She's got roller skates. Can we hide these? Let's see. Roll one. Oh, okay. That's the change it. Visibility off. Nope, that's not it. Should be around here somewhere. Maybe the global. Control this. That. I just want to get these guys, like, I don't want it to be distracting, so I just want to hide these maybe. Okay, there we go. It's in here somewhere. I'm sure there's a button around here or a controller to help hide the roller skates that she has on her legs. But I just want to, hide the visibility. Whoops. Yeah, it's all these guys. I could just put them onto a layer and just hide them. Click. Yeah, so it's not distracting. You know what? Let's keep them in there. Let's pose her with that. I thought it was maybe a controller that we had to, uh, let's see, visibility. Click, 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 click. Anyway, if I come across it, I'll uh, I'll switch it off because obviously, like, you need to play around with the rig to kind of know what's where. That's this one here. Cool. All right. Anyway, so first thing I want to do is I want to separate the legs, as in, so they don't feel like they're exactly at the same, you know, they're directly looking towards you. You want to separate them a little bit. This. You always want to have your character slightly at an angle. Whether you favor this way or that way is completely up to you. I leave that to whatever, floats your boat. Let's do maybe screen right a little bit, like that. So I'm going to favor the right side more. So the left side can be a bit more like, you don't want to always have, if I'm rotating, I don't want to have them exactly asymmetrical. You want to be asymmetrical a little bit. So this one will be rotating more than this one here. That's one, it's texture, and two, it's cooler. No, it's just like a asymmetry. You want to avoid like things being symmetrical. So we can have the chest a little bit more screen right as well, just like the hips there. And she is very stylized in terms of how she looks. So that has its own kind of like difficulties. Because the moment look her hips are super wide. So with a normal character where you would bring the hands down to where the hips are, with her we need to be a bit more like we need to think through it a little bit more than just bring the hands down. So okay, from this angle, from the camera view, it seems like just ignore the hands for now or the arms. So the amount that I've separated the legs look fairly decent. So in terms of like left and right, that's cool. Now I want to make sure that one leg is forward and one leg is maybe ever so slightly back. So just think of it this way, guys. If this leg is, if she's rotated away from us, screen right, that would mean this leg will be further away right and slightly away from us, like to the background. So naturally, this leg will be around there. See how that's starting to feel a little bit more, whoops, feels a little bit more like what it should do. But you see, when I look from the side, they're not exactly well, they're not exactly lining up, which is what we want. Like we don't want it to be lined up. We want this feel because that's how we are naturally. So if that leg is slightly back, this one I would guess is slightly forward. Let me bring the hips down a little bit. You want to avoid this, but you want to make sure that there's a bit of weight. You don't want like the legs to be hyperextended. So let's bring the hips down a bit. Hold on, let me just select the keys. It's key. There we go. We've got a key. Cool. So now let's start to bring the hands down. Oh, also just before that, you want to also favor the hips to one side a little bit more. So before I use the body mover to just turn the whole body, now I'm kind of getting in there and going, okay, well, look. Excuse me. You want to get the hips and rotate the hips with this control there. Just ever so slightly to one side a bit more. I think we can do with like bringing the hips down a little bit more. It just feels a bit too straight for me. So I want to bring this down ever so slightly because I can do it over here in the actual perspective, but when I do that, it moves a bit too much. So I'm just going to use a graph editor because the graph editor allows me to make smaller. There, I'm looking at this. Yeah, that feels cool. See how this leg is bending a bit more than the one on the right? That means now I can rotate the hips to favor that part which is stretched more. This will hopefully make sense a bit more. See how like there. So now I've made that space and I've balanced out the amount it's bending with the hip rotation that I've added. So cool. Let's bring those arms down. Let's see. Let's go to 2 view. So that's my character, obviously. Let's start to bring these arms down. I always start from like the base, which is obviously the shoulders. Let's move me over here. No, that looks weird. I'll stay down here just so I can see what's happening in the channel box. So where is the shoulders? Oh, that's the shoulders. It's an interesting place to put the shoulders or the clavicle. Cool. So I want to kind of relax the shoulders. Actually, you know what? I'll leave it there for now just to show you why I'm doing that. Let's do a rotation. Nope. Oh, it's in IK. I want to put this on FK for now for the purpose of this shot. So again, for those of you that aren't too familiar, basically IK is when you have these pins on your hand and you can move the hand like this. FK is more when you move the arms and like you can basically work from one point to another to another. So it will feel like one connection. So if I move the shoulders, everything will be moving in FK, whereas IK is more of a pin towards where the hand is. Inverse kinetic, and I think that's what it's called. I should really know that. Cool. So select these hands over here, and it's this little switch. So if you look at the controllers over here, having rather than having this little box and moving things like this, I want to go to FK, which is this. Click. And now when I rotate, I'm rotating from how you would rotate, like how the skeletal structure of a human works. If you put your shoulders up, your whole hand or your biceps, triceps, no, biceps, forearms, and hand will all follow what the shoulder's doing. So, yeah. Okay, cool. So we've done that. I want to bring both arms down at the same time. Remember, her thighs are quite large and wide. She's very stylized. So we're going to have to find room in there to, get her hands looking nice and relaxed, but at the same time, looking appealing. Cool. So have that. Now let's rotate the arms inwards. There. So I'm moving things over here to make sure they look correct. But obviously, this is the camera angle that we need to be working for towards. Get that kneecap, pull it out like this. So there. Let's see. Do this, bring it down. I almost want her, like her thighs are so big. I almost want her forearm to kind of rest in front of her thigh or just around her thigh. Because it'd be weird to just have her hand sticking out. So I'll leave it there for now. And now what I want to do is I want to keep bringing the shoulders down a bit more. This part of her body, like the upper part, shoulders, chest, and hip, well, abdomen area feels decent. No, let's bring that forward because when our hands are going down, this and that. Cool. No, going up too much. There we go. Okay, awesome. So now I'll start working my way into the hands. So she's doing that. I'm almost tempted to, because I want to lean her chest forward a little bit. That's too much. There. Maybe the head ever so slightly forward as it tilts. And I want to break up the whole like super straight. You remember with the body, the hips are angled like this. So if you look at the green line over the axis, I'm exaggerating now, but the hips are angled like that. So I want that kind of to go through the body. So if you look at the chest and then the face, the line of the face, I want it to follow that kind of C shape that I'm creating. So ever so slightly. It doesn't have to be a lot. Let me just show you guys what I'm kind of like in my mind I'm doing. Well, in my mind and on the screen as well. So this is what we have. I'm trying to do this. So I want this line going across the whole body. So, but you don't want to overdo it, like where she feels broken. It just needs to be quite subtle. So that's kind of like what I'm aiming for. So we do have the like leaning sideways. Let's lean her a bit more like this. A bit more of a tilt, maybe, not too much. It's like a fine line. I think that feels a bit more better. Cool. Seeing as her chest is rotated away from us, I would expect this arm to be more in front of us, like this, and the one on the other side to be slightly behind, because obviously, like the body's rotated that way, right? So this arm would be more in the background, away from us. There. Don't worry, we don't have to see the whole thing. but we still need to pose it. Cool. So let's get this arm or hand. Let's get some poses on the fingers around here. Straighten this arm a little bit. Cool. Usually when you do like a pose for these hands, you might just want to do one pose and like I would recommend you guys use Studio Library. Once you've done these finger poses, you don't want to go in there and like move these fingers all over again one by one. It is a lot of work and it's just time consuming. So if you generally use the same rig or you're using the same rig in in a studio environment, or if you're just working on your personal shots, you don't want to keep doing the same pose over and over again, especially when it's fingers. There's so many controllers. So I would highly recommend saving that cool pose that you did and basically just reusing it. And if you could just retweak it a little bit, that's great. But you don't have to go in there and start from scratch, doing everything all over again. If you want to, knock yourself out. But I would recommend no, because the whole point is we want to do cool animations and we want to be very efficient. And part of that is making sure you're able to animate quickly and fast. And so let's look at the hand from this angle. Cool. I'm not going to go crazy with hands today, but like you want to make sure that they don't all feel the same. Maybe one feels like it's sticking out a bit more. Like from this angle, I think it's reasonable, but you don't want it to be like this guy over here or this gal. Cool. I think those fingers look good. We just need to make sure the thumb is doing something appealing as well. There, and let's pull this part out. Maybe, nope. Doesn't look good. No, it feels a little bit broken. Not too happy with that. That feels a bit too broken. So the moment you go a bit too much, it can feel broken and not really comfortable. So watch out for those areas. I'm always like going back and forth sometimes. It feels a bit weird if I'm being honest, this one. Okay, well we'll call it that for now. So again, I think this arm from this side, doesn't look too bad from this angle, but from here, I would expect that's the thing with these characters, they're a little bit tricky. There, there. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit more better from that angle. And maybe a little bit of rotation there. No, there, I think that looks a bit better. Cool. I think this side looks, yeah, it's kind of getting there. And when we look at it from the side view, she looks like she has weight. She's leaning slightly forward. Her hips are back and her legs are forward. Yeah, the center of gravity feels good. Now we just need to work on this arm over here, and then I think we should be good to go. I don't want to completely lose the arm where I don't see the arm, if that makes sense. Let's put the manipulators on. Like I still want the arm to be visible. Yes, it's behind her, but we don't want to completely lose the arm. Cool, there. And how much I do this is going to be dependent on, because if it's just, at this point as an animator or an artist, you need to just go, okay, well, it feels weird just having the outline of the hand behind her thigh. So this is where we go, okay, cool. Maybe let's see what feels natural or what feels appealing. Something like this. And then I'll rotate the hand down a bit. Do that. Because over here we can see the outside of the finger, sorry, and then over here it'll be nice to just get the opposite thing, the opposite feeling. I'll probably have a demo on fingers in detail, but I want to keep this demo short and just show you guys having weight and balance and kind of like the controllers that I use when I'm posing out a character, just to give you an idea of, what's the thought process behind this. So, like fingers, I am posing the fingers, but it's not Like I am trying to make them slightly different. Like I'll probably have these fingers slightly close to one another. This one has a bit more of a gap, and that one's slightly off. This one might be a bit more like that, and this one I'll probably just like bring it up a little bit, maybe just to see, you know. So from this angle, I probably want these two to be slightly closer, like that. And this one here, like I'm animating here, but I'm keeping a close eye on this one. There, you see how like these two feel close? That one feels slightly separate, and that one. So it's like two that are the same, one slightly different, and the third one. So I'm trying to add texture in the posing as well. There, let's get this one a bit more closer. There. Cool. And let's work on the thumb and we should be done. See if I can get these guys a bit more closer to one another. Nope, that's too much. No, I think this hand can do a bit more. And I don't like the fact that we can see the whole pot, the whole hand. It feels like we're kind of just trying to make sure it's visible. And that was kind of the idea, but I think it's too much. That feels a bit more better. Okay, cool. I think that's going to be it, guys. Like, so we have our character here. This is our character. That's the pose. It's just a standing pose, obviously. But if I look from all the other angles, she's kind of, it feels like she's grounded with weight. That's the whole intention. Just a very quick way of how you could pose and make sure her center of gravity, the hips, and like that whole line of action where, we're rotating the hips, yes, but that goes across the whole body from her head all the way to her hips. And obviously, like some of the controls and like shifting the legs and whatnot. But yeah, um, let me know if you found this helpful, what parts maybe made sense, didn't make sense, if there's anything you'd like to see. And yeah, hopefully this was useful to a certain degree. And yeah, this was the second part of the posing for animators. So yeah, thanks guys, and I'll see you on the next video.